version is it?
Cheap was the original title. Roger Corman didn't like it, so we changed it to Dirty Duck, over my objections.
I didn't know if this was true, but I did hear that Roger Corman started to get upset about the idea that there might be a film out there called Roger Corman's Cheap.
Well, not really. Roger wasn't that egocentric. He understood exactly what he did. He knew where his place was in the film business, and he just didn't think Cheap was a title that would attract an audience. And Dirty Duck, via the Bobby London strip, would attract an audience. Of course, it wasn't the audience that was expecting to see this movie, but he didn't care.
And speaking of Roger, this was one of the New World Pictures at the time. They didn't have other animated features before this, right? How did that happen?
Roger's business manager was a woman who at one time was our lawyer, Barbara Boyle. And Barbara left her private practice to go with Roger. She was in partnership with Martin Cohen. Martin was Herbie Cohen's brother. Herbie was Frank Zappa's manager. Herbie brought Frank to us, and we did 200 Motels. That's where I met Mark and Howard, and this film followed that.
I'm a big Flo and Eddie fan, and I love the Turtles. Their personalities are, I don't know, they're such wildly interesting personalities. Whose idea first was it to do an animated feature that would have them in it so much, that would feature so much of their kind of style of humor?
It was me. I wrote the screenplay, and did all the animation and design and direction and all the rest of that stuff. So it pretty much came out of my head, and I realized I had these two resources that were crazy, and a lot of others as well. There were a lot of animation voiceover people at the time that were absolutely nuts, and we're into just crazy improv. One of the best ones in this movie was Bob Ridgely, who played many voices in the film, and he would get onto a sound stage doing a straight-ahead commercial, kids movie or whatever, and would start doing these totally obscene improvs. It was a big thing at the time, and so I thought, well, I'll put him to work. And so a lot of that stuff I sketched out in the screenplay, the ad-lib stuff on the train, the stuff with the cop who shows up in the middle of the desert, some of the stuff with the car guy at the beginning, all that was Ridgely, and a lot of it came out of his demented mind.
Well, that's great. And so was there improv from the voice actors when you were recording them that you later animated? Did you do that, or did you script everything?
Well, I scripted it all, and then there was improv in the session, and then I put the track together, and then you animate to that. That's the traditional way it's done. You always have to track first, so you know when to open their mouths or whatever.
Can you tell, there's a strong underground comics flavor to this movie. Can you talk about some of the influences in doing something that was this adult at the time?
Yeah, there was a little bit of a stretch, but there was this sort of stuff going on then. You just had Bakshi on yesterday or last night or whatever, and he had done Fritz the Cat, which came out of the underground comic business, and so there was, and as I said, Bobby London had a strip called Dirty Duck, and there were a lot of things going on. Victor Moscoso and Spain and all these guys out of Zap Comics were influences in the cultural world, but they hadn't really made it into animation. There wasn't anybody doing sort of, scruffy animation, hand-done, slightly naive, just go for broke animation. And because I was doing this all myself, it was easy. I designed the characters so I could animate them. There was no real hesitation. I just jumped in. Sometimes I have misgivings about the fact that I did it all by myself, because it makes for a very, on the one hand, a great thing in that it's a very singular movie, and on the other hand, you don't have anyone to say, well, I don't know if that works as well. You might want to do blah, blah, blah. And movies traditionally are a very communal endeavor, and particularly animation. It takes teams of hundreds of people to make them these days. But this was pretty much just me in my studio. There have been a couple of people following that, Bill Plimpton still does single animated, movies all by himself. But I never made another one.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's hard for most people to understand, but you really need it. The physical process of the frame by frame stuff that we're seeing is one drawing by you after another drawing by you after another drawing by you.
Yeah. I did all the layout and design, so all the backgrounds and all that kind of stuff, and then all the animation, and then about a quarter of the in-betweens, the stuff that an assistant usually does. I had one assistant, my partner's son, Bill Wolf, who did a great job, but he would work 8 hours a day, and that wasn't enough. So I picked up about a quarter of the assistant work just to keep the thing going on the schedule that it needed to work at in order to come in somewhere near on budget. We only had, I think, $110,000 total budget for the entire film. And, these days, a 10-second commercial can easily triple that. So, and 10,000 of that went to music, and then pretty much the rest of it was, me as an assistant, a checker, a couple of inkers and painters, a couple of women that worked with me, sort of hand in hand, just handing them stuff, and a cameraman, and that's pretty much the crew.
Oh, it's amazing. And I had also read, I mean, you had been working in animation for a while, right?
Yeah.
This was something that had, tell us also, what about the 66 World's Fair? You did a piece for that?
I did. I worked for Charles and Ray Eames, the mid-century designers. They were putting together the IBM World's Fair, and this was my first job out of art school, so I was sort of the low man on the totem pole. My immediate boss called me his apprentice, and he wanted to give me a haircut with a bowl and make me wear jerkins and that sort of thing. But they were great. They were really a fantastic design team. They had this big studio, big bow truss building down in Venice along the railroad tracks. There was a Steinberg bathtub. They would have Bucky Fuller come to lunch, John Houseman, just all these luminaries of this design world and Hollywood were friends and would come by to see what they were doing, and sometimes they would put them to work. It was a big open floor plan. As I said, it had bow trusses, so they would hang 2x4s from the trusses and put Celotex on those. That was a sort of insulation material that was popular at the time. And you could create walls wherever you wanted or needed them. They had a full machine shop, a full wood shop. They could build and do anything they wanted. And it was my first job out of art school, so it was really influential in my understanding that, hey, you can do anything. Set your mind to it. And if you've got the chops, go for it. And I built a multiplane camera and did everything from, drawing plans for the big superstructure that they used to house the bleachers that the people watched the film from, to designing puppet shows. Elsa Lancaster came by to look at the puppet show because it had a sort of an English flavor to it. And it was all computer programmed, so I was hooked into computers. This was back in the days when IBM computers were the size of refrigerators and had reel-to-reel tapes on them. But I was hooked into the notion of computers as tools very early on. This would be 1965, I guess.
Oh, that's incredible. Elsa, man, you could Bride of Frankenstein watch your cartoon. That's amazing.
Yeah. She watched the puppet show, and it was computer programmed, so the little puppets would come across the screen and talk to each other and go away. They were cutouts, and I don't even think they had mouths that articulated, but they kind of moved in a jerky way, and it was funny. But she said, well, how will the players know when the audience have stopped applauding? In other words, how are you going to get the computer to interact with the people? And of course, we weren't.
That's pretty incredible quote. Wow.
Yeah.
I grew up seeing several things that you worked on. You had a long career doing other kinds of animation after this. Certainly in my household, Puff the Magic Dragon we loved, but it really made us cry, Charles. It really makes us very, very emotional film for us. But also Rugrats, Our Real Monsters.
Yeah.
And
it's a great life, honestly. It was and is a lot of fun. And this is fun, and I'm a painter now primarily, but animation was a great life. The people that are involved in it are all the nerdy kids in high school, all those, the guys that played the tuba in the band, and just people that are just regular people, as opposed to real movies. And those folks there's lots of ego, there's lots of struggle, there's lots of strength, there's lots of push, and animation was just basically a good time when I was doing it. It's different now. People have careers and career paths, and going to CalArts is an incredible endeavor. It's incredibly expensive and time-consuming, but some great stuff comes out of it. Back when I was going to school, it wasn't a career so much as it was a calling. It was just something that you felt like you had to do, because there was when I got into the business, it was right at the point when everyone was going out of business. MGM had just folded, Warner Brothers was in the process, Disney was left, and Hanna-Barbera, and that was pretty much it for studios in Los Angeles, other than small commercial entities, and that's where I ended up working in the sort of independent world of commercial animation. And we did specials and movies and all kinds of stuff. Really, we were totally unafraid to take on anything. Didn't matter.